Hello, everyone. Welcome to MSD at Home. My name is Djordje Stojanovic. I'm a senior lecturer here at the Faculty of Architecture, Building and Planning. I'm here to introduce our guest. But before I do that, I want to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which this event is taking place, which may be multiple lands given the location of all of you, and pay my respects to their elders past and present. We acknowledge that and respect that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people had and still have laws that predate colonization. Now, my pleasure is to introduce Marcelo FAIDEN, who is currently in Buenos Aires. In 2005, Marcelo has founded Adamo-Faiden architectural office in association with Sebastián Adamo. Since then, their office has been a huge success. There's been a lot of exhibitions at very prestigious venues, such as Sao Paulo Architecture Biennial, Chicago Architecture Biennial, Architecture Museum in Frankfurt, Storefront for Art and Architecture in New York, LIGA Gallery in Mexico City, Guggenheim Museum in New York are just some of the names where their work has been shown. There are 4 monographs to their name, and Marcelo is also a visiting professor at Princeton University School of Architecture, and he has extensively lectured across Europe and Americas. In Design Studio Epsilon, which is a capstone of architecture major in BDS, we are looking into collective housing, and some of their work is on our precedent list. We were looking at the building at Plaza Mafalda, Bonplan building, and the earlier one, I think it's called Orientalis. Marcelo, forgive me if I didn't get this pronunciation right here, but I did my best. We're interested in those buildings because the scale of the development, how they address density of the surrounding tissue, how they exercise the relationship between indoor and outdoor spaces, and in particular the use of building materials. So I'll stop here. I'll hand it over to Marcelo. He'll be able to tell you a lot better about their work. I'm just going to say good evening to him. He's in a different time zone from us. It's a bit of an awkward situation. We've swapped with our speakers who are normally in the morning hours. So without further ado, Marcelo, take it away.
Hey, well, hello to everybody. Thank you for the invitation, Djordje. Well, I selected a few projects of housing projects, so I think I'm going to be in agenda. Let me share my screen. Well, as you can see here, the title of the presentation, it's called I Love Living in the City. Actually, I stole that title from a name of a song that was wrote in 1979 by a punk rock band that it's called Fear. That song, it's a politically incorrect love letter to downtown LA. It's a very powerful statement in one hand, but at the same time it sets an agenda that in the same moment that that fear of COVID-19 starting to generate the new exodus to the suburbs. I believe that it's important to focus on the city again, because it's maybe the only utopia that we succeeded to build together. Through the city, we can guarantee access to education, health, and mobility, but most important thing, it's through its density. We can have an intelligent use of the territory, of the planet, and the resources. So I believe that architecture plays a fundamental role in enriching the urban culture. So that is why I will try to focus this lecture in new scenarios, new strategies, some design techniques that help us to describe our environment in a more desirable way. So describe our environment, or just to describe, it's an action, it's a great tool for architecture. You can change things without implying material reorganization. When you describe, you can see things in a new way. So for us, this picture, this part of Buenos Aires, that surface that we can see here as a topography of buildings, if we focus on the tops of them, we can see in one hand leftovers of the infrastructure, right? But in other hand, as you can see, if you look closely, there are a few pavilions over there that start to describe those those flat roof with machinery, with obsolete machinery, as plots floating in the air. So from there, the city changed completely, because it's almost the unique possibility to be in touch with the air and with the direct relation with the sky. So we had the chance to have a point of view from one of those infrastructural leftovers, and we built there a small pavilion that is in the middle of the city, but in the middle of this forest, surrounded by city fabric and surrounded by plants, in direct touch with the sky and with the air. And we built this pavilion, this very light pavilion, not on the soil, but in this new surface, or this new, let's call it a new place that we can describe as air plots. So this pavilion steps back a little from the limit of the building and create this open room that extends an existing house that goes beyond here, but creates a place like a pavilion to be in touch with the air. Those are the moments or the scenarios that I told you before. When you change the point of view and try to think that you can have a very very hedonistic life living there on those roofs, very very in touch with the climate and very different than your neighbors, you start to look to those places with a different way, in a different let's call it ambition. You can think of them as an inhabitable roof, built again with light structure, and being able to have the chance to work in a slope, but in a slope made of the buildings that are already there. So the whole city becomes in this way like an artificial earth crust. And starting from that, our intervention creates an inclinated roof that starts from the street and finish to the center of the city block. As you can see here in the plans, it's important to mention that again there is no specific use or defined program in this pavilion, also in the pavilion I showed you before. The house already exists, but what this house and most of the houses are demanding right now is to have a different way to relate with leisure and with the climate and with the city itself. So that's why those scenarios are like perfect moments to use as a laboratory. You can see from this patio the center of the city block, the interior and the reflection. There, it works like a very special place, very specific place. In that location, you can put things together, like different heights from two neighbors, try to describe it not as a problem of discontinuity of the urban fabric, but an opportunity to use every accident, every single disalignment to create this shadow device built with very cheap materials that lets you see the city like veiled through it, and also to change the climate in those terraces. Again, I guess this description of or redescription, it's a very important tool because it makes you think the things that are already there with a different angle. In this case, this is it was a former water tank that we only took off the concrete roof and then use it as a swimming pool to be there floating with the treetops of the street. You can have a very open pavilion, a glass pavilion nowadays, only because you have this shadow device that creates the whole climate, in the whole intermediate climate. Another scenario that works for us to have a few reflections about what to wish from the place we live are these three pavilions that I'm going to show you. Those pavilions are built not in a whole plot, but in a small leftover. In this case, there was a fabric in the back of the plot, and they use the front patio, the entrance, to create two apartments and a shared place in the roof. But the fabrics needed to still be working, so it connects like this from one place from the house, and the opposite door opens straight from the factory. The factory, that's a photo taken from the factory. You can see the outstairs circulation system that goes through this very narrow apartments that almost use the outside trees as a wall. And creates those balconies, those permeable balconies made with very cheap material to literally be floating in the air. And assuming that those roofs with only a few pieces of cheap furniture can be like the most luxury place you can have in the city. We try this kind of strange proportion residential pavilions also in a more complex environment, Here, the pavilion turned 90 degrees to its neighbor's party wall in order to focus on not on the street, but in a big garden, big neighbor's garden, and at the same time try to make a side to let the sun get into the existing garden and to the existing house. So this small pavilion has these 3 levels, again, an open ground floor for cars, for places to work, and then a small house, and then again a roof, like a place to see the environment. The garden, the existing garden, goes up through the facade. The facade has this metal mesh that acts both as a visual effect, but at the same time it creates a safety device that in Argentina it's very important, but not with the expression of fear, but with the expression of lightness, and also with the expression of being necessary to the vegetation that contains. This is how the pavilion looks from the inside. It's a very high, there is a big volume of air in this house, and on top of it, like an observatory for the whole neighborhood. So choosing how where to look and how to relate, it's very important. You can turn around 90 degrees and still be able to create a relation with your neighbor. That task was very important in this house. We finished a few months ago, or still trying to finish it, but in this case, it's very important to focus on the conversation that these 2 buildings have and the independence that they express. I mean, each of them, it's built in a time, but they are still able to have a very fluid conversation. This is not 2 houses, but one, but with the expression of 2 things put together. So this is a very big villa, very big urban villa, that it starts with the addition of the pavilion we built. The pavilion turns again around 90 degrees because there are 2 beautiful low-rise houses there that have these front patios. They are protected. So for us, it was very important at first time not to create a party wall, but also to add a piece of soil to the new house. So the pavilion looks like this. It's kind of wrap the existing house in a way, and open to the patios, or the front patios of the houses. So when you get inside, the new pavilion left the patio over there. You can see the height of the old houses of the neighbor, and then from there you have the chance to organize a public space in the ground floor, and then put the 2 levels together in the upper floor in order to generate the 4 bedrooms, and then be able to create those gardens between the interior and the exterior, to have the chance to look, being very in touch with the street, but not look into it, but look into the patios of your neighbors. And on top of that, you have like a very open pavilion that actually uses the existing house roof as a new floor, as a new expansion, as a new terrace. As you can see here. But it doesn't end, it never ends. There is this spiral stair that left you in a pool that acts as a roof. So this is for us, it's maybe the very first opportunity to build a kind of big house in the middle of the city, and rearrange the whole things like the swimming pool, the garden, but in a section. It was the task of this project. This is the existing house, and the pavilion resolves almost all the circulations and installations. The creation of new garden in every chance we have, like of course in the natural soil, in the balconies, also next to the pool, and trying to use the roof of the existing house also as an expansion. This is how this pavilion looks from the air. From the starting point, from now, we've been discussing like new scenarios or trying to use these small leftovers as a chance to create desirable scenarios for the city. But we will be like losing the battle if we don't have the chance to even scale up those ideas in the scale of the buildings we are seeing in the background. Imagine that for a moment you can put on still the decision, the programmatic decision, or the definitions of the use of every space, and try to focus on how an individual would like to connect with the city, with the public scenario. So imagine that you can have or you can create places for live that have a small garden attached to them, that they can act as a living filter and creates a space, a natural space between you and the outside world. In that place, you can have trees or different plants. Imagine that those places are a huge amount of volume of air, so you can feel free to project yourself there and decide with your furniture and finally decree the use of each unit. To do that, to materialize that idea, strangely, you have to do almost not almost nothing, but you have to do like a few things to organize a very strong plan to let the contingency do its thing. So this plan is organized in strips in the perimeter, outside perimeter. There are 2 gardens, there are 2 big rooms, and then a technical core in the middle. So you can build a very rough places with only a few materials, but then believe that when you leave the scene, you left a big amount of freedom to let the user put their sofa, their bed and closet, and then say that this could be an apartment. And if someone else put a few tables and a model, that's a studio. And so the important thing is that you can you have to offer very clear rules, but almost nothing else, and let the inhabitant finish it. So this creates a different kind of image that does not speak about the use of the building, does not speak about a predetermined imaginary, but reacts at the interaction of its inhabitants. Those gardens that I previously show you speaks about the idea to live more close to nature, and that idea or that desire, it has a long history. This block over here, it's a good example to speak about a little about that history. The idea of translating the villa, the individual villa, to an urban plot. It has different design techniques through the history. In the right part of the block, we can see a development made in the 80s that relates to this issue by using the elements of the villa, like the pitch roof, the brick, the front garden, the back patio, the back garden, and stretch everything as much as possible in order to use that imaginary and put it back, or bring it into the city. The second half of that block that faces a very beautiful plaza, very beautifully used plaza. It's a plaza that the neighbors really fight for it, not to fence it, and they use it almost 24 hours. The second half, it's our attempt to also try to organize those desires, the idea to live in a villa, but in the city, but not keeping the elements, trying to bring the spatial relation into the units. The result is this kind of step block, with this corner that lets you go inside to the building, that organize almost everything in its section. There are two houses, one on top of the other. The lower one has a garden in direct relation with the plaza, but you get to entrance through a patio that actually connects directly to the parking. The second house, sorry, you get inside of it from the upper part, so the levels of the bedrooms are together. So you are on one hand close to your private garden in the roof, but at the same time you are putting the most aside as possible, the noisy places, and leaving the quiet places in the middle. So the result of this create this kind of strange pavilion with these two places for expansion, and this is how you get inside. Those are those front patio with the barbecues, of course. They are mandatory here in Argentina. The circulation one over here, the other one on top, and then you get inside to these houses that creates the idea of living not in an apartment, but actually, as I mentioned, in a house. You can see, or you can achieve that but with a very systematic approach to organization, and then relate the interior with those gardens and with those bedrooms in the upper part of the project. So again, the same idea. I think that those roofs are almost always there, but in a different organization. So if I describe like a naturalization of the city, this example over here could be like the opposite way. This is like a urbanization of the outside part of the city. For us, it's a very important project. This is a block we are building right now, but it's important not just because of its size, but because it could be like a seed of hope in the middle of this way of using the territory. So the idea that starts with our block, it's to create a mid-density, mixed-use city that will start to get in friction with the idea of the individual villa in the heart of the place where all this is happening. So maybe this could start to change a little that inertia. This block is organized in three buildings. One of them it's in front of the town hall plaza. There are places to work, small open places. There is an apartment building in front of the lake that actually it's organized with a very small units that will be for the first time creating a place for not the typical family. I mean, all those houses that I show you before, there are like a typical nuclear family, and here there will be like the first tiny apartment for different ways of living, and this L-shape element here that is under construction over here, organized like townhouses. In one hand, they have also commercial space, small urban patios that penetrate the plot, and more commercial space in direct with this little public space that we wanted to conserve. That's why this L-shape building turns a little in order to move the cars and try to save that small place in front of the lake. So these two buildings are put together by a core, like a big patio between them. This is how they look from the outside. This is the apartment building I mentioned before. Those units are like unusual for this kind of development, but here they take the best place with the big terraces that are in direct in touch with big interiors and have the chance to look into the landscape like this. This is the a building that is in front of a plaza that is actually a glass pavilion wrapped into gardens that create places for that there are studying the first doctors, the first manicures, the first everything is happening in this building right now, also in its ground floor. But what it is, it's a very simple pavilion wrapped into these two gardens with outside circulation and with this very permeable courting wall that creates this idea of permeable or contact with the environment. This is the relation of the ground floor with the lake and all those terraces, and you have the chance to get inside every unit with this open circulation. The vegetation is between you and the sliding glass windows that they act as door. There are not typical doors. You get inside to your place for work like you do in a home situated in the ground, and then you get to connect with the environment if you're lucky enough to have a corner office or another one. But most of them connect this place with this one, and I think that that creates a different place for work in relation with the environment and with nature. So the last project I would like to share with you, it's a very big tower in the city center of Buenos Aires. It has like a very important position because it means the end of a central park that connects the most important institution buildings of the city center, and it has a position that it's between two parts, two different places of Buenos Aires. It has the historical city at its back, and it has the Rio de la Plata, the river, in front of it. So as you can see, it's not a tower that acts as an object. It's a tower that it acts like that has a position that relates in a different way with the different scales. It can slow down its scale by relating to the historic city fabric, and it can step back in order to create new relation with the existing buildings, and also to relate the height of the neighbor in front of it, and using each displacement as an excuse to create shared spaces for those almost like 500 units that will be coexisting over there. So it's going to be a very mm, a huge attempt to put together different things, because it's going to create new public space at its floor. This is the block. This is the historical protected building that, in one hand, we have the chance to step back in order to not to cut the views of its corner, and then also connect this plaza with a passage, like the 19th century type of tower that Buenos Aires has, and then also to offer commercial space in order to activate the ground floor of the building. That is how the tower will touch the ground with this passage, and with the commercial space. It's going to be built with concrete and that has this kind of horizontal texture that will hide the technical juncture, in order to try to describe the tower as a solid piece that will have in the same surface glass and this tinted stone, like is the concrete. The plans are going to have a very flexible areas, as you can see there, because the envelope is the structure, and it has a central core that almost make it look like an office tower, but it has the same strategies, but combining them in a different way. You can see how the system move back and forward, and how it alternate shared spaces and units through its section. So tower is going to be like a topographic accident from which you can see the whole city in every direction. There will be a passage over at ground level in a public place. It will have a place to do gym, to study, to work, to share a big kitchen, a garden, and a swimming pool, and everything not put on the ground floor or on the top, but strategically distribute through its section. This is how the tower is going to look from the ground floor to a new public space. And this is what we are doing now there. So starting this tower right now, it involves like a leap of faith, because it implies believing that the cities will continue to be the nature that we strongly created for ourselves. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Marcelo. That was fantastic. Really appreciate it. You have shown us floor plans as well as images of your project. We really enjoyed the talk. Shall we have you get a drink of water, and let's see if there are any questions for you. There are a couple that I have noted down here, and maybe we can start off with the first one. Like, if I can try to put that one together from the perspective of an architecture student. So there's a question about building envelope. So this is a topic that reoccurs in your work. Obviously, every building will have an envelope, but it seems that it is very special in the way that you deal with it. There are a number of things that you are negotiating there, I suppose. The area that you're giving for the floor area that you're giving to the envelope of the building. What is the developer perspective on that angle? Then there is an occupant's perspective that they're having a garden in the flat. And then finally, there is a moment of architecture expression in there. So there are three things, and you've mentioned you see it as a filter in the relationship between inside and outside. But again, from the perspective of an architecture student, what would you tell a student as, is it a design opportunity, a challenge to have, how to go about it?
Okay, it's a very nice question. Thank you. We have to start from the most heart-to-heart angle, yes, and then we go slowly pragmatic. So we have to say that for me and Sebastián, we understood that as students that there was something wrong. and how the buildings relate to the city. Let's say about the city. We are not talking about houses, but the cities, because every architect finish its handrail made of glass, very beautifully arranged. Some other things with metal or aluminum, and then go away. And the first thing that the tenants do was to close it. Right. I have to say that the first work we did together was an envelope of a balcony for my cousin when we were starting the university. But what we described is that the architecture was not responding to some demands, that those demands were safety issues, but also the problem with the child, that they're once in a while you read in the newspaper that someone fell from a building, right? And so what we saw that with this new problem, we had the chance to put in practice the materials that weren't allowed in any other way, that were metal meshes or textiles or things that can deal with that things. And that opportunity also let us to create a conversation with the architecture we like. I mean, those are literally permeable curtain walls, as you can see them, but they are not made of glass as Mies invented. The glass goes like 2 meters back, and there's a new place there. So in that displacement, they are like it's how the place is created. From a pragmatic approach, we have a building code that is now obsolete, but 3 years ago, I guess, it let us compute or use those surfaces in half of the interior. So you have the chance to make them bigger. What happens right now that thing changed is that the market here in Buenos Aires, it started to pay more the square meter from those balconies than the interior. And so I guess that that first laboratory that we put in practice was somehow orientated, because those things now are starting to happen a little bit more. But the most important is that it's an unregulated place, an unprogrammed place, and it's very nice to go back once in a while and find how the tenant deployed themselves in that place.
Yeah, thanks very much for that answer. The next one we have is on occupants and tenants, whether or not you get in touch with them. So in earlier project, the way I imagine is that there is a family and you were talking to them, and so if it was like a house or a pavilion, as you call it, then you could directly speak to the future tenant and see whether or not they want to have glass wall or not. But then as you move through your career, you've started designing larger buildings. Mafalda is, we're looking at 13 units or so in there. did you get the chance to talk to occupants, or this was developer-led approach? And how did you manage to convince developer to do what you have done? And then finally, when you moved to do the tower, the very last project that you showed us, I suppose this must be talking to developer directly rather than to occupants. And what are the design drivers, and how does that reflect on your design process and what you do?
Well, when there are a few, like maybe the first 10 years of our practice, we didn't notice the difference between developer, architect. It was everything mixed together, because we acted not as a developer because we didn't have the money, but we were people that wanted to work as architects. So what we did in Argentina in 2005, after the bank problem that we have on that time, people wanted to put their money into houses, right? So what we did is put together things like first of all, trying to describe places of the city in a new way, like for neighbors that were kind of forget, but were very well situated, that they were nice. And then we propose how to do a building, and then we search for every owner, not of the building, but of the unit. We put everything together, and then we built like 6 or 7 buildings in that way. That means that we did a project as a whole, and we understood the whole thing, not just the architect against the wall and trying to fight with the developers. And what happened in a way is that developer noticed that there was a thing that could be interesting elsewhere, and we created a conversation like maybe 12 years after starting to work with other people, but not putting ourselves in a position that they're architects or professors or intellectual, but really understanding what are their problems, and also the problem of the construction, because we also did the construction of those buildings. So it's not a great formula, because it's a lot of work, and in one point, if you want to be focused in the quality of the architecture, you cannot do a lot of things at the same time. So we kind of slowly moved down into a different way of working, but understanding the whole thing. So maybe the key for the answer to your question is try to dissolve the categories that organize the same question. There are in a kind of architect that has the ability to create relation, not just with forms and material, but with everything else, and that's an important quality for us that will make us work somewhere else than building things.
Thank you again. Okay, the next one about building materials. So you're using metallic mesh, you're using polished concrete and glass, and we architects are very excited about those materials. I just wanted to hear: is this something that is typical in Buenos Aires? Where does it come from? And what is your rationale for including those materials in domestic spaces?
Well, we kind of, first of all, is that those are materials that we feel comfortable with. I have to say it in a very unrational way, again, starting with that, because in a way, a pragmatic approach means to try to think how your wishes could work with the society you are relating with, right? It's like starting to put that conversation moving. So, but we understood that those materials were give you like different solution for different kind of problem, you know, like the how do you work with safety issues or to create shadow. I mean, in a way, for us was like like creating also an area to create a new expression, because once you move back with the windows, those windows are made of standard aluminum type of wall of windows, like everywhere we have, like, you know, but in that front part of the building, there are things that could be like built in a different way, resolving different things. So also because it was like a place of freedom of expression for us.
Thanks again, Marcelo. So that was Betty's question. I just wanted to give credit to the person who made that question. It was Betty Key who made that one. And the next one, the final one, with the head of an architecture student, I will ask about building adaptable spaces that seem to be important in your projects. We'll in the smaller units, we will often see that you would put the wet core in place, meaning kitchen and the toilet, and you would leave the rest for the residents to both equip and to organize space. Typically, these spaces would be open plan, or you would leave the possibility for a resident to choose what they want to do about it. In your experience, do you know if they've introduced partitions after you have finished the project and you have left the building to them to use, or do you have any insight of how the life inside the building has moved on after the project was complete?
Yes, we are always visiting back, and we have a very nice archive of how things happen. We learn a lot from that. And yes, sometimes they keep it open, sometimes they contradict it, but it's an open system, and it's very nice to find that some contradictions and learn from them, and also verify that your intentions. But I will have to mention that when you do a project, the project does not react to the inhabitant. It designs an inhabitant, right? It's important to mention in an audience with students, because the habitant is the main topic of the design. When you do that, you're like telling or you're thinking or creating an inhabitant that doesn't want to regulate its individual space in a typical way, you know, like the toilet in the room, and the tile in the kitchen, and one floor for one and the wood for the other because it's warm, you know. So it's I believe that a lot of people will prefer to have freedom to try to think that maybe don't know where they are resting or working or having a party, or they want to have enough space, and they want to change their mind, you know, and they can rearrange everything back. So it's important to talk about that, not in the as a modern way, like big span, open place, focusing on the construction of a different kind of inhabitant. That's also part of the project.
Thank you. Maybe the final question about your involvement with academia and teaching. I've noticed in your CV that you've been involved with very many workshops. And is that a format that you prefer? Is that like sort of short-term exercise, intense involvement with groups of students? Is that something that you do deliberately, or it just happens to be very frequent in your CV?
Well, thank you for noticing that. I didn't notice, but when you finished to ask me, I already understood the answer. And the answer is that we are too far away from those academias, and it's very hard to stay like longer there. Because Argentina, it's maybe far away from those universities that are in my CV, and maybe the most of the time we go like a week, work on a very concentrated in a few questions, and then we move back to our school, to our city. The first time we did like a whole semester was in Princeton, because they allowed us to move back and forward by plane, you know. But we are Argentina. It has I mean, from one place, it's you have a good perspective of the world because you are like far away. Don't care, you know, I do my thing over here, and that's and also, but you can relate to things without knowing the people quite a lot, but that when you combine that with believing that your city can be a good laboratory, and you can have like a very strong conversation even being far away, I think that I mean, creates opportunity like this for us. Teaching and doing this presentation and meeting you and have the chance to receive the question made us think about our work and how to focus in a few things. So it's very important being in touch with the world for us.
And in your work with students, are you able to relate to what you do in practice? Are you able to transpose directly the knowledge you develop in practice? Because I also know that you hold a PhD from Polytechnic University of Catalonia. So what's leading the way, your doctoral education or your practice when you're working with architecture students?
Well, my PhD, it's called Los Bajos de los Edificios Altos, which means the lower part of the high rise. And it was very important for the last project I show you. So it's very important that we are being able to work at that scale right now. But in other hand, our studios are strongly related to what we do, but you can't imagine how close they are, because not because it's not a way of being an integral, coherent person, because it's you can wrap a thematic thing from different views. You know, it's not to mention that what I do at the school is the same. It's not the same. It's very different. But we are like moving around the things that we think can be a key element to move forward in a few things. So yes, we and those workshops are very important for us, because you can have like an external input to the issues you are investigating.
Okay, thank you very much, Marcelo. We have to stop at some point, and I think
Yeah.
Thank you so much for spending time with us. I know it's late in Buenos Aires at the moment, and thanks for that as well. It was a real pleasure. We had a group of students and staff here in the audience, and I'm sure many more will see the recording through our channel. Thank you again.
No, thank you for the invitation. Goodbye.
Thank you. If I can just have the slides now to announce the up and coming events on MSD at Home. So Tuesday, 14th of September, Jane Randall will be with us, hosted by Helen Frichot. And then after that, we have a seminar or a roundtable discussion titled Experiments, Disruptions, Affordances, Practices for Future Innovations, hosted by Advanced Digital Design and Fabrication Research Hub, which is being launched at that location. And then there is a Dean's Lecture series, Nicholas Blomley, speaking about making property outlaws, law, and relegation. So quite a lot of things happening on our media. There's also a YouTube link where you can visit past. You can see past recordings. Many of those are super interesting and highly recommended. Thanks everyone for your attention. Big thank you to ABP events team, Basil, Jet, and everyone else who helped this event happen. Thank you very much, and goodbye.